Hey guys, Jeanette Vilda. So the video that I'm putting together here was a whole bunch of different pieces that I made of my craft room. I've had requests to take a peek at how I've done my craft room, how everything is organized. It is pretty big. It's about 30 feet by 30 feet. Of course, the 30 feet is only one piece, or the sideways 30 feet is only one piece because we have a foyer that kind of cuts into it. And so what you'll see is we call the nook is on that wall. That is 30 feet wide, but that width of that nook is, the extent of it. And so then on the other side of that is the stairwell. So the other part where I'm at here, I think it's probably 20 feet wide or so. So it's a pretty big craft room. And I looked out and got a lot of furniture from a friend of mine who closed her craft shop. And I did have a professional organizer help me organize things. But, excuse me, we've been in this house for 1 year, and it's taking me that long to really discover how I work, because that's the important thing when you're organizing your craft room. It needs to be based around how you work. It's easy to look at someone else's craft room and go, oh, it works for them, therefore it will work for me. But if they're not sharing how that thing works for them and why it works for them, you don't know if it's really going to work for you. That makes sense. So yeah, for instance, the way that I store my stamps and my dies, I know that, for instance, a popular organization method is from Jennifer McGuire. And it makes no sense to me to have my dies and my stamps organized that way. It makes sense for her because she works for, or, not works for, that's her job, and she needs to ensure that when she's making a card, for instance, and she's using certain stamp, it's all from that one stamp set that she is promoting to you in that card. And so her stamps are organized via the company by which it came. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me because I'm not selling those, or not that she sells them, but I'm not promoting those stamp sets. And so if I want a heart from this stamp and a bow from this stamp or whatever, having them just by sets makes no sense. So you'll see in the videos that I use little organizers, and I just number them, and they just get thrown in there. So everything is mixed up, saves space, and everything in my craft room is inventoried in Evernote. And if anyone wants to see how I do that, let me know. I'll make another video of that. But yeah, everything is organized and inventoried. So I'll show you real quick. The thing I do love the most for my organizing is this guy. And these come in all kinds. Again, mentioning Jennifer McGuire, she has one of the ones that are more square. I find this is perfectly reasonable for me. And so once I know what's going into an object, I use this to make the label. And then that label corresponds to what's in my Evernote. And I think the other thing the reason I had this out is because, so this is one of the boxes for my excess T cards. So most of my T cards are actually representative set of my T cards is in my ephemera binders, which you'll see again later in the video, or it might be several parts and maybe in another one. And so I have like one card from each set, or one representative, because some of them I have multiple sets of that one, or multiple sets of that set. Well, that's easy to say. So this is where I keep the bulk set of my T cards. And I've got, like I said, I have a whole bunch of these. And what you can see is that, let me tilt this way. See if you can see that. See, they're little bears. Isn't that adorable? I got this not in a office store or, you know, whatever. I got this at a toy store. Truly, got this at a toy store. So this is, I guess, marketed for kids. I'm not entirely certain what thing kids need to organize such that they would need this, but I thought it was absolutely freaking adorable. I mean, look at the little bears. And it works perfectly. I mean, they fit in very nicely. And again, see? TCB1. T-card box number 1. And they're all labeled. And again, each of the sets are then listed in Evernote. So if I'm going through my ephemera binder, I happen to use a T-card, I can check in Evernote, see if that one is one of a bulk set. Then I can go to my box, pull out the same card and put it back in. And then that way, I don't have to fill up my ephemera box or my ephemera binder with a whole bunch of the same cards. So anyways, those are 2 things I wanted to show you. The reason I wanted to show you this is not one to show that everything gets labeled, everything goes into my Evernote, but also that your organizational, what you use for organizing, can come from just about anywhere. And you can make your own. We're crafters, so of course we can make our own organizing. But it has to work the way that you work. And it has to match the stuff that you own. If it doesn't, it's just gonna be frustrating to you. And you're not gonna keep it cleaned. You're not gonna keep it put away, because everything in its place, and a place for everything, right? So if that item doesn't have a place, it's gonna end up just getting sat somewhere. Or if the place that you've designated for it doesn't make sense. Yay. Same thing. It's never going to put it away, because you're going to go, where did I put that? Or the exact opposite. Where did I put that? So I can't find it. Okay, so anywho, that's my little introduction. So I have no idea what order these things are going to go. I just kind of, when I made the videos, it just kind of wandered around the room. Like, it is pretty big, so... And I hope I have a tendency to ramble on, so I apologize if it's boring. I'll try to cut out pieces that are boring. If you have questions, please put them down in the comments. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. If, for instance, you have a organizational issue that you're struggling with in your craft room, please feel free to comment. Contact me. I'm on Facebook, Jeanette Wilde. It's Wild with an E. It's German, and they pronounce W's as a V, so it's Wilde, and the E's is a, so it's Wilde. So you can find me on Facebook, Jeanette Wild with an E. And yeah, please feel free. My favorite thing is organizing. I absolutely adore it. So I would be more than happy to help you out with anything you needed to help out with. Otherwise, please enjoy, and yeah, send me any comments, and I'll see you in my other videos. Thank you. Stick around. So as you come up the stairs in my craft room, to the side you see these 2 units, and let's see, let's look at this one first. So this is the back end of a storage unit from my Nook. And as you can see, I use it, and then makes a nice little pegboard for a lot of items. I have my leather cords so they don't get tangled. I have found these 2 bags at IKEA, and they're really great. So I have, this is all my, like, what do you call that? Which is my cords, some really leather string, just all kinds of threads. And then down here, those guys. And then, so this is all of my acrylic sheets, the clear and the colored. Let's see, we got magnetic sheets, some acrylic things, and some mirror sheets. These are, it's like plastic, but it's, it has adhesive on both sides. And then just some stickers, my memorabilia packs. And then here is all of my Cricut pads. There's also, I mean, there's just some other random things in here, but this is where I keep all of my Cricut mats. And then just miscellaneous pieces here, some extra rolls of tape, some, I think this is watercolor, no, that's alcohol ink, paper. This is a gigantic roll of like a, kind of like a washi tape, duct tape hybrid thing. But it's kind of big, it doesn't fit into my washi tape container, so he sits here. And then these are my bead count trays. So this works really well. Keeps track of everything that I need. And of course I've got, you know, additional clamps. If I need the clamps, they all sit up there. So that's my pegboard. Okay, and so then we have this unit. It's a nice big unit. So going from top to bottom, so these are all of my like little bits fabric boxes. So, and then they're done by color, and see if I can see there and there. So it's my smaller bits of fabric. And then these guys have miscellaneous fabric pieces in them, as you can see. And some, each one is, you know, filled with different appliques, that kind of thing. And then of course my lace is at the top. And then this is a thing I really love. This has worked out really well. So this is where I keep all my chipboard pieces. And you can see I label them, of course. And these are playing card boxes. And I've got two types. This one's kind of square-ish. And then I've got a longer one. Nope, those are the same ones. Where is the long one? Here's the long one. And you can see it's thinner but longer. So I have two types. So like for instance, this one has like words in it, which are longer and thinner. So those work perfectly. So this is mostly chipboard. There is a few other things. I've got some stamps in here, some miscellaneous little pearl guys, some embroidered tags. But on the whole, as you can see, it's mostly all chipboard pieces. And again, I keep them labeled. Of course, I need to put a new label on this one because it got migrated and I haven't labeled it yet. And so they all go there. And then, so like I said, these are the playing card boxes, and then these are photo storage boxes. And these are for my larger chipboard pieces. And so they sit there. And then of course over here, this is mostly the large ones. And his label is inside. So these are, yeah, the larger ones. And then at the top here is a bunch of stamps. So, and again, I label them so I can go through. And then these are kind of not totally random, but random. We've got, let me see here, I'm trying to keep the strap from going in front of the camera. Okay, so the first one is for my jewelry, beading, whatever. So all my different containers and everything for doing jewelry. This holds all of my tools for doing jewelry. So that's all on this drawer. The next drawer is mostly resin, so molds, different pieces that we need to do resin. That should be over on that side. And then this is also some resin pieces. My happy jig, some random copper wire, a few more molds, and some other pieces that didn't fit some other places. And then this one on this side is all of my wax seal stuff. So everything I need to do for doing wax sealing is there. And then this is where we get really random things that didn't necessarily fit anywhere else. Like my bead tray, a random mold for doing some plaster, tea lights with my wax seal. And then the bottom is miscellaneous, like really miscellaneous. So we just random bits and pieces, and then all of my wires from my happy jig. And then going down, this rolls up, and I'll just sit on the floor because it's easier that way. So this is one of those Tim Holtz holders, and it's got binder clips, arrows, all the metal findings that you would have from Tim Holtz. There's also, the bottom of it is nothing but keys. I keep all my keys there. And that's what I need to do my Ukrainian eggs. I'd love to do Ukrainian eggs. My Kumihimo box, my polymer clay box, straw design box, and then that is all of my, this is for doing binding. And this little guy is also filled, I think, mostly with just little bits. I think I moved some of the stuff, but it's got like little cotton balls, and I think down below is little bows and things, but it's hard to open with one hand, so I won't open that. And then that's a little bow maker and my light for doing my resin. So that is this little guy. Lots of stuff. Okay, so this is the part of the craft room that we call the nook. As you can see, so the room goes off that way. You come up the stairs there, come here. We got these two storage units, and we're kind of using them to create sort of a false wall. And then you can come around and come into what we call the nook. And it's quite nice because it gives me a nice area to hide all of this. So this is kind of the stuff that I don't use quite as often, or, you know, if I buy something in bulk, then the bulk part goes here in the nook. And as you can see, it's a nice space, a gigantic plant. It's a nice space, but yeah, it's kind of a mess. We keep also some extra chairs in here. The other thing, of course, is this little unit, which is my oven. And the room up here was actually part of a business. So they lived in the bottom part of the house and had used this upper floor here for mostly business work. And so they had like a business oven, or a kitchen, if you will. And so this little unit was actually in that room. And well, this little unit, I mean, it's not, you can see it's not really attached here. It's just kind of balanced on the top. But it has a nice way, you know, closing out some stuff here. So in here, I've got my coloring books. And then these are my Crafter's Companion binder storage folders. And these hold all of my stamps and my dies. So every one of my stamps and dies are in these binders. And my inventory for that is all within my Evernote, which I'll have on a separate video. And it works beautifully. So close, and that's, yeah, like I said, that's all my coloring books. And then, of course, there's the oven. I keep all of the pans and everything that I use to do my crafting in the oven. So it's not used for anything else, so I can store within the oven and not worry about it. This one's got some detritus, but mostly, my Etch-a-Sketch, mostly it's little leather scraps. So leather scraps that don't roll anymore go into this top drawer. And then inside of here is just like bags and boxes used for storage, and extra Xyron, you know, so storage things are all in there. And then that big green bag holds all of my, the little hooks that I use for my pegboards. And then in this little unit, which currently there's a few things in the way of, there's my cinch sitting there. I'm trying to find a better place for that, but I haven't gotten to that yet. And Audrey, because I'm a big Audrey fan. So in this unit, I have, those are my rolls of leather. So the leather that can roll up goes in that. That big bin is puzzles. I'm a big puzzle fiend as well. So that is just jam-packed puzzles. And then I have some beads that need to go in these guys. So these are my bead trays, and you can see I've got them all labeled: red, blue, yellow, silver, black, green, purple, and then sequins. And so I'll pull out purple, for instance, and in it is all of my beads, purple beads. And if you're interested, I will link to these trays. They're very useful. As you can see, I use them for beads. I use them for grommets, sequins. They're wonderful for sequins. And so my sequins are in both this one, and then, as you can see, the rest of them are in this one. And you get, what I like about it is that you have these little guys, and they open like this. So it's like a, hard to do with one hand. Put it down on the ground here. There we go. Opens nice and flat open. So it's like a Tic Tac, but it's much easier to get to everything inside. And they are very secure. You don't have to worry about it falling open. And they come in so many different sizes. The other thing I like to use are these guys. Now, I have a number of different companies' versions of these, simply because some of them I purchased in the US, some of them I purchased here in Germany. These two hold, for instance, these are my flowers, and here comes my cat. There goes Esther. And these are great because you've got, you can, as you can see, take these little dividers out, move them around to give exactly the size that you need for each thing. And so, like I said, I use quite a few of these. Those are my flat flower petals. These are my more 3D, like stems and whatnot, are in here. I also use these. I won't get it out because it's kind of buried under there, but that one is filled with really big charms, and some jewelry pieces are all in that. So they're very, very useful. And that basket is filled with stuff for sewing. That's all in there. And then moving to this. So this is the right side of this storage unit, so where the shelves are. The back side of it is a pegboard. It is a display case, storage case kind of thing. I got, like many of the items, storage furniture within my craft room. I got this from a friend who closed her craft store. And I purchased quite a lot of her furniture and display cases. So this is one of them. And so you can see it holds a lot. Up here, I need to get those moved to their correct spot. But up here is, now these came from IKEA. And I forget what they're called, but I can provide a link for those. They came from IKEA, and what I love is how they stack nicely, but I can take them real easily. So they come right out, and I can take them away with me. Now these are my larger pieces of fabric. So my tiny pieces are in those boxes in my bookcase. So they're in this bookcase on the other side in the boxes. But these are the smaller pieces of fabrics. or slightly larger pieces of fabric. Sorry, not smaller pieces. These are large pieces. If they can fold, or I also like to put them into rolls. Makes them nice, easy to store. As you can see, I have a lot of rolls. So if they can fold or roll, they go into here. If they're just scraps, they go into the little boxes. And then what's nice is that these came in boxes. So these are the boxes that all of those little cases came in. And these work really nicely for other storage. So you can see I've got my cords. I have an air freshener. So I keep all the pieces for that. Different bags. This is for doing organizing within my room. This is printer, so it's for all my inks. These are my extra pens, pencils, brushes, all that kind of thing. So, yeah, these little organization pieces came with an extra organization piece. So I got 2 for the price of 1, if you think. Now, these are another great use. Now, for some reason, my little labeler does not want to stay on these, but pull this out. Now, you can get these rather cheap and fairly expensive, but it's a tackle box, toolbox tackle box. I find them mostly if I look for tackle box, but in some stores they'll be in the toolbox. But what I use these for is mostly for jewelry findings. So this one, for instance, is all of my end caps and spacers. So those are all in those trays. Make a great way of organizing your little tiny pieces. This one here is all charms. I have another one that's actually not in the nook. It's over by my desk. And that one is all, what is that one? Brads. That one's all brads. So, and then big paints, also sprays and all that kinds of stuff. And this box is my large book covers for making books. I have my leather working kit in here, different things. Now these are all of my things for my Xyrons. And then, so I don't really use my Sizzix. The only thing I use this for is for my big Tim Holtz dies. So he's kind of buried in there because he doesn't get used that often. And let's see. Behind, on the floor, because it's the best place for it really, is my boatload of wallpaper samples. So I lucked out one time and got a couple of really awesome, well actually like 4, really awesome wallpaper sample books. And the pages are really big. And so I had to, you want to lay them flat. And so this turned out to be the absolute best place. They lay nice and flat. I can pull them out and go through them. So yeah, they're on the floor, but works good for me. That's just miscellaneous. Those 2 boxes are actually from IKEA. They are fabric storage boxes. These are for my really big pieces of fabric. Those are the fabrics that I use to make book covers, mostly. And then my extra tea cards. So all of that is extra tea cards. I keep 1 sample of each of the sets within my ephemera binders. And then if I use it, or if I want to look at the more of them from that particular, then I come back and these are all of that. Soldering iron glue gun, and then my Faber-Castell polychromos, and my, I always forget the name of the other set of colored pencils, but those are all my colored pencils, my Copics, my Tombos. This little guy, I got this, it's actually originally from QVC. They had some kind of deal, but I got it on eBay when somebody decided to get rid of theirs. And it's another little storage case, and it's all little jewels. But these don't have glue on them, so they're just plain glues. The ones that say HF, those are hot fix. And so all of those are jewels. There's also pearls, so basically bling. I don't know if I get that close. And then the actual hot fix, my little hot fix gun, is in this top piece. So, for doing the hot ones. So there. Now, going back into this little piece here, those bins are all cardstock scraps. I do not use cardstock that often. Mostly I use thinner paper. But when I have a project that really needs cardstock, I definitely first go to my bins with my scraps before going to the full-size sheets. And then there's the box. There's a box way down there. I recently got a really great deal on eBay and got an absolute ton of lace and trim. And that box is still filled to the brim. And all of the pieces, so in another part of this video, if it's before this or after this, I'll show you all my trim and how I keep track of that. And then there's a box with all of my fabric scraps that's labeled lace. And that is samples, if you will, of what's in that box. So everything underneath there is that box filled with lace and trims. And then our little guys from Build-A-Bear. So there's a few things that I need to do to get this a little bit more organized. Everything is exact. Oh, one last piece here. I forgot about this. This is my shoe sorter. And the top pieces is all of my punches. So my punches live in the shoe sorter. That's a random bag that apparently just got jammed in there instead of going into my fabric box. And then down below is other things that I don't use quite as often, like an extra heat gun, Swiffer for doing not embossing, but pergamano. So yeah, all my extra little bits and big things. So there's like a circle light in there and sponges, a couple of extra bags. So when I know I need 2 bags, for instance, I get 3 bags. If I like, I always have that extra. So I'm big on bulk, so if I think I'm going to like it, I get a lot of it. So that's all of that. Okay, so again, as you come up the stairs, you go to the right and you have this kind of glass wall that looks down into the foyer. And here I keep some of my Ratzcoxer storage, my ribbon wall, and then this little guy. So, like I've said several times, a lot of my furniture came from a craft store. So I have this display set. It's, it spins. And what I do here, I've really come to like. So as you can see, so first we have all of these strips. So you see lots of strips of paper. Lots of strips of paper. Yeah, there's the strips of paper. What I do is when I've gotten down to my cardstock or certain paper pieces, and they're not scraps, but they're not quite large pieces, I cut them to exactly the size and width, rather, that will go through my sidekick. And that way, one, makes it easy, to put onto my little spinner here. But 2, I can very quickly run it through my sidekick. And so when, my scrap folders or boxes get too full, I sit down, I go through it, and cut the pieces to these strips. Now, there's also in here, anytime, I have like a border, so the borders are all in here as well. But mostly you can see it's cardstock and printed paper cut into strips. And I only keep them to a certain width. When it gets too skinny to really use a dye with it, well, there's not much point. So there we have that. And then also, if I spin this way, this is all my quilling strips. This works really well. I mean, they haven't, I think if I had this before, right when I took most of these out of their original, packages that they came in, they wouldn't, they wouldn't be quite so warped. But this works really well. And all I've done is I've taken a binder clip, and they're just clipped. So I get them all together and then clip them. And this lets them, because I've got some really long ones, as you can see, there's some really long ones. And I just, storage was just not working. I couldn't find any good storage which they didn't become warped beyond how they were in their original packaging. So, but you can see some of them that came straight out of the box, since I've been here, and was able to immediately put them on. They're nice and straight. So also, if I have paper that is the good, has the good weight for doing quilling, then, and it's too thin, then it gets added to my quilling strips. Let's see, there's also, like I said, there's borders, so I keep a lot of borders here. And then there's this set of guys. So these are trims that have adhesive on them. So I'll take a piece off here because that's not terribly sticky anymore. But you can see they come with adhesive on them. And I believe, I want to say that this is Idea Mint to Hearts. There's no company on the back. Now these came, yeah, there's no company. I got this in another eBay purchase with a whole bunch of other stuff. So of course they didn't come in their original packaging. It was all just stacked and then put into a bag. So I don't know the original company, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to say it's Die mit Herz, which is a German company. But you can see they're quite nice. They work really well. The only thing is, of course, you've got the length is the length, and so that you don't have a full thing, but they're quite nice. These added to like cards or whatnot. I mean, some of them, as you can see, they're a little thick, a little bit thick, but they make really nice additions to things. So all of those are on here. So that is my spinny thing. My strips of paper for doing Sizzix, my sidekick, borders, quilling ribbon, some other random ribbon. Oh, and then these are just squares of pearl card. So they're like pearlized cards. And so I had them in these bags, and so just, there they go. So that is my little spinner. Air purifier, because I have very bad allergies and asthma. This is my travel cart. So this Raskog makes its way around the craft room because it's got the things I use the absolute most. So all of my We Are Memory Keepers boards, they used to be in a separator. Unfortunately, the actual holder that We Are Memory Keepers makes to hold your boards won't fit into my Raskog. So I did have another little guy, but I think it just wasn't working with all the things that stick out. So for right now, they're just kind of laying in there, which I hate, but I have to figure out something new for that. These are all of my just liners, and then we have all of the circle and a couple of square punches. I use the squirrel punches, circle punches like crazy. So they're in a bag that my mama made, and that bag too, that bag my mama made for me. So they're all in there, so I can take the bag out if I want to have it closer to me, if I'm going to do a whole bunch of things with it. And then I've got my middle Xyron, my second to largest Xyron are on here, my X Xyron, so the tiny Xyron usually sits there in front of the blue guy, but he's on my desk at the moment because I was working. And then my Crocodile and my fishing line, which is what I use to bind my books. And then this is a little guy that you use on beds. So if you're, sitting on your bed, you can put it on the side of the bed. I use it to hold my stamp platform thing is in there. And then all of these bags are for doing collaging. So for instance, this one holds music paper, some lined paper, that kind of thing. And then I've got manila folder for doing backing things. And then there's blank pages, and then there's also collage papers. So that's all in here so that when I can roll it around and do collaging from everything in there. And then, let me turn this light on, get a little more light here. And then these two Raskogs, these are all photo boxes. And they come with the boxes that are, I've shown in another spot, several spots around here, that I keep like my kumihimo and my leather work and everything. So they come in those boxes. And of course I take them out and use them in my Raskog, and then the boxes that they came in, I use for storage elsewhere. These are for my very 3D things. So for instance, book plates, game pieces, dominoes, Scrabble tiles, metal cogs. So if it's 3D, put this over here. If it's 3D, then it goes in these boxes. Oh, and actually there's one of the big, what they actually come in down here. So that big box there is what these come in. And like I said, I just take them out, use the bigger boxes for something else, and put the little ones in here. And you can see they fit perfectly into the Raskog. Perfectly. And so those are my 3D pieces. And then this Raskog is for my envelopes. So used envelopes, older envelopes that I've postmarked and everything are all up here. And you can see they're organized by date and then by type, by the stamp that's on it. So birds, it's whatever stamp was on the envelope. And then my longer envelopes. And then colored envelopes, so the white and the craft, and then all the colors. And then card links are on the bottom. And then this is my favorite thing, almost, in the whole room, is my ribbon wall. So this is not quite a pegboard, so I can push this to the side. You can see it's actually rails. And then these little guys go in, and what's nice is that they slide, so I can move them around. And so on this part, these are my ribbons, and what I've done is, if you can see, these are floss holders, right? Just typical for embroidery floss, whatnot. And what I've done is, you can see it's very crudely done. I took my crocodile and just hole all the way across. There are some punches that you can get that, are little rounded rectangle things. I think Stampin' Up! Makes one. So it'd go a lot faster to have one of those, but hey, needs must. So I just used my crocodile, went all the way across. And that makes a nice way of hanging your ribbon. And then I take by color, put them together, and then put them on a ring. And so now I have all of my ribbons there. And then up here, these are my sari silks. And what I do with them is bundle them, and then I have it's a really silky, I don't know what you call that. It's not really string. It's like a ribbon, but it's really thin and it's really silky. The reason I use that is you can see it's even coming apart as I play it with it. It does not hold, it'll hold it until you start to mess with it, and then it comes right apart, which is great because then I don't have to mess with a knot. But you can see it keeps them very nicely in my little bundles, so I can see all of my sari silks. So that is my sari silks, and that's my master's hood. It gets pride of place on my Sorry Silk wall. And my little plague mask from Venice. So anyways, that wall is for, yeah, my little extra pieces. I really love it. That guy travels around. Those guys pretty much just stay there. But I gotta say, I love my ribbon wall because it's not only functional, but it's real pretty. It's a nice little splash of color in the room. So that's that wall. Oh, and let me show you this just to give my mama a plug. She made me this wonderful little hanging. I love dragons. So she made me that, and I just recently made me that. So there we go. So thank you, Mama.